Hi, my name's Arlynn Bottomley, and I'm a library assistant with the OC Public Libraries. May I ask you a personal question? Were any of you adopted? If so, have you ever seen your original birth certificate? I'm well over half a century old. I'm married. I have 6 children, 7 grandchildren, and I've never seen my original birth certificate. I was adopted as an infant by wonderful parents and raised as an only child. There was never a defining moment that I can remember being told that I was adopted. I always seemed to know. As a child, I loved reading books about Tarzan, Mowgli, Pecos Bill, who were all adopted and raised by loving families, like I was, even if some of their families were apes and coyotes. Well, those fictional families who raised those literary characters imprinted their own values on their adopted offspring. But many of those stories also told of the offspring eventually discovering and coming to terms about their birth origins. My mother, who adopted me, had given me all my adoption papers as a teenager and told me if I ever wanted to search, she would always be there for me. But the timing never seemed quite right. In the 1970s, I registered with the International Soundex Registry, an adoptee birth family reunion organization, but I never heard from anyone. Years passed, and after the birth of my first grandchild, my oldest daughter, Heather, started encouraging me to actively search for my birth family. After all, I'd been busy passing on my genes. We should really find out a little bit more about them. My birth state, like most states, was a closed record state as far as adoptees were concerned. Closed record means that if you were an adoptee, good luck ever seeing your original birth certificate or your adoption records, even if you were over 18. They were tightly sealed away. At adoption, most adoptees were given an amended birth certificate with their adoptive parents' names. Those adoption papers my mother had given me so many years ago only had a last name, which I had been told was fictitious. A search wasn't going to be very easy. My birth state did have a confidential intermediary program where I could, and did, hire a state-appointed private investigator to search for you. And information then could only be revealed if all parties were found and agreed to the revealing. After 2 years, the intermediary called with the information that my birth mother had been found. But she wished no contact, and she did not want to release any identifying information. For some reason, the intermediary said that my grandmother's first name had been Helen and that my grandfather had been a barber. She said she could not confirm whether that name in the records was true or false. I searched on Ancestry.com, the exact databases that any OC Public Library has, and within 3 days, I found the information I had been searching for. My search has taken me to some very interesting places, imaginatively, emotionally, and literally. A kind relative sent me a Quaker family Bible from my 3rd great-grandmother, given to her in 1833 by her father. I'm now a lifetime member of the Sons and Daughters of Oregon Trail Pioneers. Over a dozen of my ancestors came west on the Oregon Trail. I'd been enthralled by Ken Burns' epic, The Civil War, and now I find a second great-grandfather who'd been a veteran and went into battle, armed with his drum. I visited a third cousin who not only owns a winery in Ramona, California, but also owns that second great-grandfather's Civil War drum. As a family, we've camped near Sutter's Mill, and we've whitewater rafted the South Fork of the American River, right about where my third great-grandmother was born in a hut made of tule reeds in pre-statehood California. My family tree on Ancestry.com lists me as a 9th cousin to former President Barack Obama and a 3rd cousin to old-time cowboy star Roy Rogers. And instead of just one family tree, my children and my grandchildren now have 2. I've shared some of my family's search story with you, and I'd like to encourage you to use any OC Public Libraries Ancestry Library Edition to discover your own family stories.